Taking an image is like freezing a moment in time forever. Ever wondered what is it like to take a bunch of them?
(1878). Who would think that settlement to some argument would result in one of the most used media formats we have today? Former California Governor Leland Stanford wanted to settle a $25,000 bet by proving a racehorse has 4 of his feet off the ground when running. To prove this, he called Muybridge for the rescue. Edward Muybridge was a professional landscape photographer at the time. To prove this, he put together a mechanism of 12 cameras along the track race, attached it to tripwires. The racehorse would then trigger the tripwire and would make the 12 cameras take pictures in symmetric intervals. The outcome of this experiment was amazing. It produced the picture of the racehorse with seemingly all 4 legs off the ground, which proved Stanford's point. Since then, Muybridge came up with a new invention, the zoom brachyscope, that reduced the illusion of motion by having the pictures rotating or spinning behind the viewing slit. That produced the first motion picture. 1882. French physiologist and photographer Etienne Jules Melies worked on the foundations of motion pictures. He was fascinated by Muybridge's work, but what he found is 12 cameras is too much work. So his invention is basically one camera with a rolling shutter, so it can take multiple pictures on the same device. Given his field of specialization, he wanted to record the processing mechanisms of the human body. Mary referred to these images as chronophotograph. They were the first images that promised an explanation to what happens in the human body moves in detail. Mary conducted experiments and analyzed events that happens beyond the threshold of the human perception. 1893, Thomas Edison steps in. He puts together the first rotating movie studio so he can use the sun to his advantage at all times. He also invented the kinetoscope, which used a solenoid film instead of a metal plate, unlike older cameras. The device combined a camera and a viewer, and also used an 18mm film. The fast-moving shutter was both used as a way to record a movie and to show it. He showcased his first movie showing 3 of his workers pretending to be blacksmiths. This invention inspired French inventors Louis and Auguste Lumière to invent their first camera, the cinematograph. The cinematograph was both a movie camera and a projector that allowed a bigger audience to view the movies. This technological invention allowed more people from the society to experience this new invention.
1896. It was until 1896 when the French magician Georges Melies first visited the traveling circus in Paris, when he was fascinated by the Lumière's brothers' invention, the cinematograph. He thought that this device would help him create new illusions for his magic tricks. So he never hesitated to offer the Lumière's brother 10,000 francs at the time to acquire their new invention. However, they declined his offer, claiming that it's not a feasible technological invention for the future. Whether in reality, they were thinking about monopolizing their own technology as a scientific invention. This didn't stop Melies from acquiring a similar device called the animatograph from England. Actually, he used the animatograph just to study its mechanisms, and hence he can come up with a similar device to that of the Lumière's, and this was his own cinematograph. However, Melies wasn't satisfied with his own noisy camera at all, that he called it a machine gun. So he substituted it with a new camera, and it was the Lumière's camera that they, by that time, started to sell. From here, Melies got the idea of switching his career from a magician to being a producer, director, and an actor. He built a studio on his own land, and using a trial and error approach, he experimented with different tricks until 1899, when he came up with the multi-scene production that we know nowadays and we're even using in this video right now. He did this by cutting frames of the film reel and attaching them to each other, creating a jump cut. He produced hundreds of movies by that time, but there's one movie that really stands out: The One-Man Band. In 1900, he demonstrated another trick in this movie where he performed 7 characters on his own, all at the same time, in the same scene. This trick had really driven the French public crazy, that the American writer John Frazer, in his 1979 book, Artificially Arranged Scenes, The Films of George Melies, said, "As a piece of theater, this act is simple, but as a cinema, it's unchallenged for years." By summer 1902, he produced his most successful movie, A Trip to the Moon. It was so successful that Melies started to sell black and white and hand-colored versions of it, that opened the door for his movie to cross the French border for the first time. And when it reached the USA, it inspired the American projectionists Donald Bill and Albert Howell to create the first all-metal 35mm film camera, 1927. The country boy, Philo Farnsworth, first applied his idea that he had when he was a 14-year-old kid. His idea was derived from viewing a team of horses while harrowing a field. The basic idea that he used was to view an image using an electron that goes back and forth within a tube, just like the CRT, and that tube was called the video camera tube. Do you know what does that mean? It means that you don't have to go to a movie theater just to watch a video. However, you can watch it on your couch in your home. His great-granddaughter, Jessica Farnsworth, described it as a miracle when it was first shown in Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, when hundreds of people overcrowded in front of the lecture hall where he was doing his demonstration just to take a look at the 1-foot diameter screen and were refusing to leave. The American government back then adapted his invention and started manufacturing it on a large scale. However, World War II had interfered in Farnsworth's source of happiness when the US government has stopped funding the project and the factories started producing the radars instead of the video camera tube. And that's how the cookie crumbled for Philo Farnsworth. Philo Farnsworth got depressed and went through the darkest period of his life until 1969, when he saw the first scientific application of his device in the science of astronomy, when NASA used it to live stream the first moon landing. Video camera tubes, or the television, got back on their feet by the 70s, and they had a huge impact on our society. It became a more common and faster source of information and news for people, that it started the decline of newspapers. Look around you. You rarely see anyone reading a newspaper. News were just the tip of the iceberg, since the TV became a source of entertainment as well. It gave birth to other productions like talk shows, programs, and series from different genres and for many age ranges. This impact kept snowballing that the millennial kids nowadays became having a negligible interest in any sort of reading. Since this 1927 invention, the technology did not change much. However, it just kept integrating and getting evolved.
Videography, or better known now as video, has affected a lot of lives as people started doing self-journalism. You don't have to have a big camera, you don't have to be an expert, you can just use your phone to take videos of stuff happening around you and reporting it to the world around you so everyone can know what's happening. It's also very useful for the medical field, used in the endoscopy procedures, and surgeries.
Thank you for watching our video.